Shotti called me. Fuck. You know what Shotti told me? Shotti said, Ak. Yeah, I know, I'm gonna keep it 1,000. He said, Ak, he said, yo, and I've talked to Shotti many times, like, even while I was in prison. He said, Ak, I know I ain't talked to you in a little while, but he said, you really out here pushing this narrative right now, man? So I said, oh, what are you talking about? He said, he's like, I see what you're doing with your friend. Obviously, and by the way, I don't shout it. 6ix9ine my friend. But I stopped him. I said, whoa, Shotti. It's my homie, but they ain't no concerted or like type of effort to push on narrative. He's like, yo, yeah, man, y'all trying to change the narrative. And I'm like, yo, Shotti, you could speak at any time. Now, let me just say this off top, chat. And this is where the chat niggas is going to reign. I said, Shotti, we talked a long time ago. And I won't get into some of these details. Me and Shotti talked multiple times. And Shotti, I remember Shotti said, ask me anything. And I asked him a bunch of stuff. And Shotti told me some stuff. And I said, damn. I said, I don't feel like I'm in the middle of 6ix9ine and Shotti. But it gets me to realize which person's what. And I went back to 6ix9ine. And I told him, I said, I remember I was in a ShopRite parking lot. I had people in my car, and I walked out of the car, and I had no speakerphone. I said to 6ix9ine, I said, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, because I could tell 6ix9ine could tell that maybe I didn't believe everything he was saying, but I was like, he said, ask me what you want to ask me. And I said, yo, I talked to Shotti. He said, I know you told me you talked to Shotti. I said, he told me certain shit that as you want. Anything. And I'm going to answer them. I'm going to ask my chat. And by the way, if you watch this anywhere else, if you're not in my chat room or if you're not a chat nigga, I really don't care what you think. I never really care. I'm going to ask my chat niggas, what do you think I should ask Shotti? He's going to come out this week. I'm going to put out a video of me asking Shotti that. Whatever questions. I'll tell you this. Shotti looked at me and said, yo, that interview, that podcast you did on Spotify, man, that shit bullshit. I said, why? He said, fuck what that nigga Wack 100 talking about. That nigga 6ix9ine was no civilian. That nigga, and he's like, yo, listen. He's like, until I seen that nigga name on paperwork, I really didn't think that nigga wasn't gonna hold it down. Basically, he's saying that I never thought that nigga was gonna snitch. That's what Shotti told me. He's like, yo, it told me a lot. I'm trying to remember some of the shit. He's like, yo, all that civilian shit, that is out the window. This nigga knew how we were getting it down. I'm also tell you this verbatim what he said. He said, I don't blame that boy. And he told my 6ix9ine. He said, I don't blame that boy for me sitting in the cell. He said, nigga, I moved around as a gangster. He said, I was moving around that at any time, if a nigga played with me, I would have laid a nigga out. Flat out. And I would have done 20 years. He said, every nigga, he said, if you look at that indictment, every nigga that's with me, they were down to do a 20. Which means we were down to take 20 years if a nigga play with us, and we got to lay him down straight up. So don't think we in here like just like, oh, this nigga told her. No, nobody even thinking about, that's what he told me. He said, nobody is in here thinking that 6ix9ine is the reason why we're here. It's like, no. We all knew we signed up for some shit. And if we got caught up on some shit, or if we got in a situation where we had to lay a nigga down, and we're gonna get caught up by the legal system, We gonna take them 20 years. He said, I came in this shit with 20 years. I'm gonna be that's what he exactly told me. So he's saying, I don't give a, he's like, yo, I just don't like the narrative being shifted that we were taking advantage of this nigga. This nigga came in and he was one of us. And what did I say to him? Because it's not even too long. I said today, I say, yo, Shotti. Because Shotti was like, yo, because he was lumping me with I said, Shotti, you know I ain't know a lot of this shit. I said, Shotti, I'm still finding out some shit that y'all was doing now. And I said, yo, Shotti, you know, some niggas is not a part of that. Like, I wouldn't know this and third. And he said, yo, and so I looked at him, I said, yo, part of what Wack is saying is that y'all niggas knew that nigga wasn't about that shit. That's what Wack is saying. And Shotti said to me, he said, yo, he said, Ak, we knew from, he's like, yo, you could never know what a nigga is really about until you're around him. And he's like, we were around that nigga, and that nigga made it seem like he was about that shit. That nigga was a gangster, straight up. Essentially what he's saying is that we didn't co-sign or say this nigga's a blood knowing he about to snitch on us or telling us. We co-signed this nigga as a blood who is in the same shit, who is co-signed some of the same shit, who's encouraging crimes that we into. And yeah, I don't want to speak too much for Shotti, but I told Shotti, I said, yo, let me reposition myself again. I'm a platform. I've talked to you multiple times. And he said this about his, because I was shocked. At the interview, 6ix9ine passed me his phone, and it was Treyway, Shotti's account, that messaged him. But it was Shotti's son. Now, 6ix9ine eventually said that Shotti's son was asking for help. He told me, he said, yo, Ak, you know why my son been messaging 6ix9ine? Because he want to fucking fade. He want to beat that nigga's ass. He's like, yo, that nigga said he's taking fades. Well, my son, who's of age, want to fight him. That's what Shotti told me. I'm going to be very honest. You know me, I'm going to keep it 100 always. And 6ix9ine my nigga, but, bro, like, when it comes to this, bro, this is one of those things that, nigga, I'm not no street nigga. I can't just ride with 6ix9ine or ride with whatever because of whatever. I'm like, yo, I told Shotti, I said, listen, that's why, you know, you talk to me, you could use the platform. You could say whatever you got to say. 6ix9ine said what he had to say. I would be a certain type of nigga if I say, well, 6ix9ine can say whatever you want to say because he's against you. But if you want to say some shit, you can't say. So he said, ask me any question. So I'm going to give y'all niggas 15 minutes. Ask me any question. And it's going to be later this week. I'm going to answer it. But he's like, I'm going to just tell you right now, I'm not going for Wack. He was upset at Wack. He said, I ain't going for Wack trying to label this nigga as a civilian when this nigga was literally on some gang shit with us. That's what Shotti said. Facts.